What's going on, everybody? Welcome into the Baltimore Ravens Rundown. And I got a question. Did anything big happen yesterday? Like, are we supposed to be discussing something? Oh, right. The Ravens shocked the nation, shocked the flock, and they moved on from head coach John Harbaugh. We went live for it yesterday. It was our first ever breaking news live on this channel. Of course, it's Wednesday, so that means we're going live today as well. We got a ton of stuff to go over. We're going to start off with the latest head coach search buzz. We got two candidates Baltimore Ravens have already scheduled or requested interviews with, and we got a couple of more that Adam Schefter thinks they will request interviews with very, very soon. Then we're going to get into my perfect offseason plan after John Harbaugh gets fired or got fired. And I'm not going to lie to you guys. We had this one already built. Yeah, we had it scripted and built yesterday before the John Harbaugh news happened, so it's safe to say we had to switch a couple of things around. And then we're going to go to draft targets plus a mailbag in our final segment of today's show, so make sure you guys get all of those questions in. I want your one-word reaction after a day of rest and looking back on everything and looking at the details. What's your one-word reaction to the Baltimore Ravens firing John Harbaugh? Mine still is surprised. Like, I still cannot believe that they ended up doing it. It felt like after Sunday night, right, the kick misses. I was kind of sitting there. I was like, okay, well, maybe I probably would have given it a 30% shot then. But then, like, where we were sitting at yesterday, by noon on Tuesday, I would have given it about a 2% chance to happen. So it happened. Breaking it down, I want to know what your one-word reactions are. A lot of Steelers fans in this chat right now, and I'm not very appreciative of it, if I'm being 100% honest with you. In fact, I kind of hate it, Gage. Gage, what is your one-word reaction one day away from the Ravens firing John Harbaugh?
You know, I woke up this morning, and I forgot what happened. Like, not forgot, but I thought, like you said, I thought it was a fever dream that they actually pulled the plug. But I think my one word has to be shock. Mm-hmm. Like, the fact that Steve Bisciotti had the balls to pull that off, because for the longest time we felt like he was not going to pull this off, and the fact that he pulled it off the day after Black Monday, I think really caught me off guard. So that's why I'm in shock. We might want to.
No, I couldn't agree more. I will say this: the sadness has kind of set in for me. Of like, I saw his statement. And just seeing everything, it's like you forget a lot that these guys, at the end of the day, they are humans. Mm-hmm. They are just like you and I. And a man with a family, I get it. He makes millions of dollars. He's not going to be struggling for money or bills or food or anything like that. But a man just lost his job. And it's easy to see that and be happy and excited about a change. And I think a change needed to come. However, it is still sad. Like, the human element of it has set in at this point. And it's like, man, he was a great dude. Yeah. Great leader, great father, great husband. It was just time for a change.
Like, you even said to me one time when I'm setting up a show for something that he's a guy that you would generally want to sit down and have a beer with. Like, have a conversation with.
Yes, would love.
Get to know him better.
Love to go get a beer with John Harbaugh. That would be an absolute blast. Okay, I'm going to get Samsung out of here, because they are annoying me. So goodbye, Samsung. Never come back. T-Sam said happy. Giselle said LOL. Adam says facts. Oh, Antonio, I love this out of you, Antonio. Said, I was done watching Ravens football till next season, but this move brings so much content to watch. LOL. I could not agree more, Antonio. It's funny, because Gage and I, we have no choice but to continue talking about Ravens football throughout the offseason, because it's what we get paid to do. It is our jobs, ladies and gentlemen, to talk about the Baltimore Ravens. And it also is our job to bring in views and to bring in revenue and bring in likes and subs. And so I was sitting there yesterday and I was like, man, this offseason's going to suck. This was yesterday morning. Because I was like, Harbaugh's going to be back. The coaches are all going to be back. Everybody's going to be pissed. Really, the only cool thing is that you're going to have the 14th overall pick. That's going to be the only thing giving this channel any bit of juice. And then they fired John Harbaugh. Now everybody's so excited, myself included, we're back up. It's going to be a hell of an offseason. Make sure you subscribe.
I'm excited. I'm really excited to see what will happen.
Moggs says, get Klint Kubiak in the building. Well, Moggs, they're trying to. We'll tell you a little bit more on the first segment of today's show. John Dalton Rose says, hopeful. What's up, John? Good to see you, Troy. Says, out with the old, in with the new. Giselle says, let's go, Flores. Could not agree more. He's my number one. Kimberly Harmon asks, is Zach Orr getting fired? Just curious. They're going to let the head coach, whoever it is, choose his own coordinator. So, most likely. Ed Reed, D coach. I wouldn't be mad if you brought in, like, Ed Reed to, come coach safeties or something like that. That would be fun. Jeremiah says, I hope we get some pass rush in the draft, possibly Peter Woods or someone that can improve this pass rush. Speaking of Peter Woods, we're actually going to talk about him in the third segment. Addison, ROTC, says, what's up? Joey, what's up, Addison? Martin says, what happened? The Baltimore Ravens fired John Harbaugh. That's what happened. Joey, did you see the thank you, John Harbaugh, for end of an era? Yes, I did. It was awesome. Brandon says, get Brian Flores on the phone now. I could not agree more. And John Boshears hits us with one of these. That is a guaranteed laugh from me every single time. Like
why is that?
6'7"?
Yeah, why is that a guaranteed laugh for you?
I think it's just because it's John.
Oh,
John,
okay.
If you don't know, John is one of my best friends.
Okay.
He married Kennedy and I. He was the officiant in our wedding.
Oh, okay.
One of my college roommates.
Okay, cool.
And so to look down at my screen and see John Boshears say 6'7" makes me laugh. Additionally, John is a Bible teacher for freshmen in high school. So you just know he hears 6'7" all the time.
I feel bad for you, John.
LaFleur, not really interested in Mike LaFleur. Not really interested. Cards Rundown says, do you think the Ravens will be this year's Patriots? I mean, I think they could be. This is going to be the most attractive job, ladies and gentlemen. You get Lamar Jackson. Plain and simple. Joey, have you heard about any rumors about Brian Daboll? Hopefully he's not on the short list. I have not heard any Brian Daboll rumors. Have heard some Brian Flores rumors. Mr. Marlowe is excited about that. I could not agree more. John says, much love to Harbaugh, true Ravens legend. Amen. Much love to John Harbaugh. Hey, we got a mailbag coming in later. Use hashtag Ravens. Escaped my mind because we haven't done a live show in a very long time. Use hashtag Ravens in the chat or super chat to get on today's Q&A. Giselle asks, what school? It's a school in Nashville, Tennessee called Lipscomb. John says, what do you say? It's on the same campus. Yeah, it's on the same campus. Yeah. One time when I was in Nashville, him and I got lunch at a Subway across from both Lipscomb Academy and Lipscomb College. John, what's your mascot? Let me know. He says, it's unreal how many times in my life I've heard 6'7", almost as many times overheard Joey here say fire Harbaugh. Dan Stern says, finally, Jeremiah, do you think we should get an older or younger coach? I don't think, I wouldn't be mad. I don't think we go older. I don't think we should go older. I don't want one who's in his 60s. If we got a coach in his 50s or 40s, I wouldn't mind. Where's attendance squad? Joe, I know what Brian Flores, but who do you think the Ravens will hire? If I had to bet money right now, it'd be Jesse Minter. You don't like Brian Flores over the other available coaching options? Yes, I do. He is my number one. Always, always has been. Ethan says, Ray Lewis for head coach. Don't hold your breath. Who's the guy you think the Ravens should trade for this offseason? Great question. How do you feel about Rex Ryan? I wouldn't mind Rex Ryan as DC, but if they hire Rex Ryan as head coach, that's not happening, okay? Fire Harbaugh says, I'm eating dinner and watching Ravens TV and living my best life. It's a great life. That's a great combo. Dinner a little early, 5:11 Eastern time. I'm usually a late dinner. Kennedy and I are usually around 7 o'clock. 7 to 7:30.
Really?
Sometimes randomly we'll eat early at 6:30. Sometimes randomly it'll be late at 8 or something like that, but that's usually where we are. Are you happy the Ravens are moving on from John Harbaugh? If you are, hit that thumbs up button and like today's stream. We are at 142 people in here. Great crowd so far. Make sure we get to at least 70 likes, okay? That's what we're trying to get to. 70 hits of that thumbs up button. We need 38 more to get there, ladies and gentlemen. John, think the Ravens need any receivers? Great question, John Gage. make sure my friends gets in our live chat. I do think so. It's going to be interesting to see what they do because they signed D-Hop to a 1-year deal. I think Rashad Bateman was the biggest disappointment in the 2025 season. Zay Flowers, I think, is a good wide receiver. I think his ceiling is wide receiver too. Interesting if they address that need in the draft. There's not that many good free agent wide receivers available. Hopefully Devontae Walker can take a big step up. It's going to be interesting to see what's going to happen. Whoever the coach is, pass rush and O-line help is what we need. I agree. I think we go trenches. What's up, Joey? Says Papa Shook. What's good? Good to see you. Alec Pierce in free agency. Yeah, Alec Pierce and George Pickens. Those are two best wide receivers in free agency. I think you're probably going to be outpriced for George Pickens. Maybe Alec Pierce. That might fit this team a little bit more. All right, guys. Let's get into the latest in the head coach search for the Baltimore Ravens. Got a couple of interviews already requested. We're going to break that down. Adam Schefter is going to give us an update on, who he thinks the Ravens might be looking at. We got a lot coming at you. Appreciate you for hanging out with here. Attendance Squad says, are you drinking Coke? No, I am drinking a Diet Dr. Pepper in my protein shake shaker bottle. It's delightful. All righty. Cage, are you ready to roll? Okay. Let's start it. First segment, latest head coach search buzz coming at you right now. The next 2 weeks for the Baltimore Ravens are going to be wild. Hell, it might be the next month. However long it takes for this team to get a head coach nailed down, it's going to be crazy. It's going to be a lot of fun. I cannot wait to cover it. But, this is the first head coach search for this team since I was 7 years old. The majority of this fan base, anybody who's 26 or younger, they have never known a head coach other than John Harbaugh. It is uncharted territory. And that's why I cannot wait to have it wall to wall for you guys right here on the Ravens Rundown. So make sure you subscribe to not miss any of it. And also, if you want the Ravens to have some good luck in this coaching search, do me a favor and hit that thumbs up button. Okay, let's try to send as many good vibes as we can to Baltimore to help them crush this search for the new head honcho in Baltimore. Well, they've already started. Tom Pelissero reported earlier today that the Ravens requested an interview with Seahawks offensive coordinator Klint Kubiak for their head coaching job per source. That's 5 interview requests for Kubiak, who can interview for jobs during Seattle's playoff bye this week. Those 5 teams, Baltimore, Las Vegas, New York, Arizona, and Atlanta. And there is a reason that Klint Kubiak is such a hot name and a hot commodity across the National Football League. It's because he's got the Seattle Seahawks and their offense playing at such an elite level. Jackson Smith and Jigba looks unbelievable. Sam Darnold looks like Tom Brady. They got the number 1 seed in the NFC, and their head coach is Mike McDonald. So you know that offense is 100% run by Klint Kubiak. He's basically the head coach of the Seattle Seahawks offense. He's coached for a lot of different coaches. He's worked for a lot of different head coaches over the last few years, different stops, so he knows good ways to run a football team. He knows bad ways to run a football team. And a report came out yesterday that the Ravens are looking for somebody to, quote, invigorate Lamar Jackson. I think Klint Kubiak would do. So I'm not surprised they're interested. A lot of people are. Tom Pelissero also reported that the Ravens requested an interview with Dolphins defensive coordinator Anthony Weaver for their head coaching job per source. Weaver played and coached for the Ravens and has been a finalist for multiple head coaching jobs in the past. Now, this should not be a surprise, okay? We've pretty much discussed Anthony Weaver as a possible option to be this team's next head coach since the very beginning of these rumors. Played for him, coached for him, and when we talk about Anthony Weaver, to me, he theoretically checks all my boxes. What I want in a head coach is a guy who's physical, who's aggressive, who preaches toughness, who builds relationships with players, and has that run through a brick wall kind of likability about him that every single player who plays for this guy says, I would run through a brick wall for that dude, right? Nobody has ever said a bad word about him. You ask any player who's ever played for him, they all absolutely love the dude. Every single one of them. But we all know that this isn't Care Bears, right? Football teams aren't built on just love. You cannot win a Super Bowl based on how many hugs you get from the guys playing for you. You need a little bit more than that, and I don't know if Anthony Weaver has that. If you look at the Dolphins' defensive ranks for this year, like, they're not that impressive. The best in any metric on this list right now is their yards per game. That's 22nd. I have it written as 22ndth. My bad on that one. But still, like, that doesn't scream to me a guy you have to get in your building. Like it's been said, his defenses are a little bit complex. He's been in Miami for 2 years. The first year he got there, players said, yeah, it took us a little bit to get it down. His second year, all the rookies, all the new guys they signed as free agents, they said the exact same thing. So he gives you a schematical advantage in a sense, like more than John Harbaugh gave you. But I don't think he's the best defensive mind in football. I definitely don't even think he's the best defensive mind available. The hiring, while it wouldn't be too shocking, I don't think it'd be too exciting either. Like, I wouldn't be over the moon, pumped up about it, and be like, the Baltimore Ravens just knocked this one absolutely out of the park. So those are from Tom Pelissero. Adam Schefter weighed in as well. Now, these ones are a little bit more rumors. Tom Pelissero's report, that was legitimate. That was news. The Ravens did request to interview both of those candidates. These are just some guys that Adam Schefter thinks the Ravens will be looking at. Now, he's as locked in and as sourced as anybody in the game. So anything he says, I think we should take to heart. He said, I think Jesse Minter is a spot-on nomination, selection, discussion. Another coach that I expect to get interviewed for that job would be DC Anthony Weaver, of course. This was said earlier today, and he hit that right on the head. Now, we've been talking about Minter since early October. This is a screenshot from a show that went out October 6th, 2025. We did John Harbaugh replacements after the loss to the Texans in Week 5, and Jesse Minter was number 1 because we just knew it made a ton of sense. Obviously, he spent time here in Baltimore. He's coached under Mike Macdonald. And what he's doing with Los Angeles this season and last is really, really impressive. He followed Jim Harbaugh after they won a national championship together in 2023. And that Chargers defense is top 10 in every single metric that we're showing you. Yards per game, yards per play, points per game, touchdowns allowed, EPA per play. He's got that thing humming. He's incredibly likable. He's got great leadership skills, and a bunch of people see him as one of the top young and up-and-coming first-time head coach options. And like I said, he was in Baltimore, Mike Macdonald. Now, they didn't cross over when Mike Macdonald was the defensive coordinator, but they still crossed over as position coaches together, both on this staff. I wouldn't hate it at all from a defensive mind standpoint. Now, not to say it's perfect. Got my concerns if you're going to hire Jesse Minter. That concern is, how is he going to hire an offensive mind? He spent a lot of time in college football. You don't make a ton of NFL connections in college football. Now, he's successful at that level, obviously. Won a national championship with Michigan. But he was doing that coaching for Jim Harbaugh. I don't really love anybody on the offensive side of the football from the Jim Harbaugh coaching tree. Like, that's the thing is, whoever you bring in as head coach, they have to bring in a kick-ass offensive coordinator. Or they've got to be one themselves. Because you've got an MVP at quarterback. You've got a Hall of Famer at quarterback and running back. Like, right now, I'm not interested in anyone from Los Angeles offensively that he could bring with him. Quarterback's coach doesn't do it for me. Their offensive coordinator is Greg Roman. That would be absolutely disgusting. And that's not to say he can't go outside of his tree and outside of the guys he's worked with. But from a connection standpoint, he just hasn't built as many as other guys because he's only been in Baltimore in Los Angeles from an NFL perspective over the last decade or so. Of those two guys, which would you rather? JM for Jesse Minter or AW for Anthony Weaver? You let me know your answer down below in the comment section. We got to give a quick shout out to our awesome friends over at Ethos for sponsoring today's video. As you know, my wife Kennedy and I got married almost 2 years ago. I imagine that we'll buy a house and start having kids sometime relatively soon. And if something were to happen to me, the last thing I want the people I love to worry about is them being able to pay the bills. So I trust Ethos to keep them protected. After watching someone close to me go through loss, I saw how quickly grief can turn into financial stress. That experience changed how I think about protecting my family. Life insurance isn't about expecting the worst, but it's about making sure the people you love are supported no matter what. That's why I recommend life insurance through Ethos. You can get your free quote at ethos.com/NFL Daily. Ethos makes getting life insurance fast and easy. It's 100% online. You can get a quote in seconds, apply in minutes, and get same-day coverage. Application times, of course, may vary. There's no medical exam. You just answer a few simple health questions. As of March 2025, Business Insider named Ethos the #1 no medical exam instant life insurance provider. Protect your family with life insurance from Ethos now by going to ethos.com/NFL Daily. That's ethos.com/NFL Daily. In as little as 10 minutes, you can get your free quote and up to $3 million in coverage. Application times and rates may vary. Mina Kimes also weighed in. NFL insider, works for ESPN, says the Ravens instantly became the most appealing head coach job in football. First off, I could not agree more. Automatically, you inherit a guy like Lamar Jackson. You inherit an unbelievable offensive weapon in Derrick Henry. She said, I would strongly consider Brian Flores if I were them. And if you know, you've watched us for any time, hell, if you watched our video that came out this morning, or if you watched the video that came out last night, Brian Flores has been and will be until this thing is over my #1 candidate. First thing I like a lot is Brian Flores has always loved Lamar Jackson. Every time he's brought him up, he has had glowing things to say about our QB. So I know he would be chomping at the bit to coach him, right? And a lot of people don't want to coach him because apparently he was a failure in Miami when his last 2 seasons there were the first back-to-back winning seasons in Miami since 2003. That's right. The season they fired him, they went 9-8, ladies and gentlemen. Year before that, 10-7, and he got tanked. The reasons he got fired is because he refused to tank. Tell you a little bit more about that in a second. And he was a little bit harsh on Tua Tagovailoa. Probably didn't handle a rookie quarterback well. I don't think he thought he was very good. And was he wrong? Never wrong, just early. Everybody kind of realizes that now, right? Like I said, first back-to-back winning season since 2003. They fired him because he just didn't want to tank. Stephen Ross, the owner, didn't like him. Reportedly offered him $100,000 for every loss that season. Don't believe me? ESPN reported itself that Brian Flores alleges the Dolphins owner Stephen Ross attempted to incentivize him to tank or purposely lose games shortly after he was hired in 2019, with Ross allegedly offering Flores $100K for every loss that season. Flores says the team won games late in the season. Dolphins general manager Chris Greer told him that Ross was mad that the on-the-field success was compromising the team's draft position. And they were horrible roster-wise those years. And he still had winning seasons. He checks every single box. Physicality. I love the way he schemes up his defenses. Players, he can relate to them, I believe. Sure, he maybe failed in Miami, but that's the great thing about failing. You know what you did wrong. You're incentivized not to do that same thing again. Also, it would be perfect because he could bring over Josh McCown, a guy who's learned under Kevin O'Connell, one of the brightest offensive minds in our sport. And he's not the play caller over there in Minnesota because Kevin O'Connell is. So you hire Brian Flores. He brings in Josh McCown. He calls the defensive plays, just hires a defensive coordinator to, be his eyes and ears out there. Like, it makes too much sense. It's too easy. So easy that I kind of sit here right now, and I doubt that they're going to end up doing it. I think they should. I hope they do, but it just feels too simple right now. Should the Ravens hire Brian Flores? Give me a yes or a no down below in the comment section. Play Steve Bisciotti. Act like you're the owner, ladies and gents, and we'll let me know your answer. We're going to get out of here. Okay, we'll be keeping you up to date with all the newest head coach buzz, news, rumors. It's a place to be. Subscribe, follow me on socials. We'll see you next time. Oh, man. I love talking about Brian Flores. I had to finish my sentence. Dude, it is so easy. This is the easiest decision ever.
I'm surprised they haven't given him a look yet. Honestly.
Dude, he hasn't been requested for any interviews.
Period? Not just the Baltimore Ravens.
Not any.
That is, I think the teams are scared of what happened in Miami, and that's why they're not going down that rabbit hole. That's my only theory.
But that's stupid, dude.
I know it's stupid, but it's kind of like he had a similar path to like Robert Saleh in a sense where it was not his fault. It was just the management and the team ownership that kind of screwed him.
Yeah. No,
and
you're not wrong.
And like you said, that Baltimore's defense lacked that intensity that is supposed to define playing like a Raven. And he will bring that energy back to M&T Bank Stadium.
Exactly. That energy, the vibe of play like a Raven has disappeared.
It
doesn't exist anymore.
It's dead.
We need somebody to bring it back. Okay? It's so funny. Literally the two reasons he got fired was because he refused to lose games and because he called a spade and said, this quarterback sucks.
Which we all know later on is true.
And Miami just this year said, yeah, we're going to move on from Tua. They were just 5 years late.
Yeah, they were 5 years late. And if and for being a head coach, your job is to get wins. That's the bottom line.
And also, it's perfect for him. I would not hire Brian Flores. Listen to this. For all the good I've said about Brian Flores, I would not hire him if I had a young quarterback. If I had a quarterback that he was going into his second year or you're just about to draft a rookie one, just because of his Tua history, I wouldn't hire him. I think it'd be too risky.
Because he's too tough.
But you have a 29-year-old quarterback. Happy birthday, Lamar Jackson, by the way. Yeah.
And on top of that, like, have him just focus more on the defense and just get a really good offensive-minded coach for the OC position. And you're set. Yeah, bring him McCown, like you said, and I think you're set. You'll be successful.
Maybe, you know what? One day, we're going to scale this channel so much, we're going to be able to buy the Ravens. I'll be the owner. Actually, you be the owner. You hire me as general manager.
I got you.
This coaching search should be over.
It will be done in an instant. I wouldn't even need to
interview him. I would just give him the offer. I'd say, hey, look, like, to me, Brian Flores is the Ben Johnson of this year's class. He's that can't-miss guy. How much is he making at Minnesota?
Brian Flores?
Yeah, do we know that?
I don't know off the top of my head.
I don't know either. No, I don't know either. He's making less than $6 million. That's guaranteed.
Yeah.
Because Chip Kelly became the highest paid coordinator in football last year, and he made $6 million.
And they're still paying him after they fired him, too.
Yeah. What was Ben Johnson's? I think he had like 15. 5 years, $65 million. So that's what, $13 million? Yeah.
Yeah.
$13 million a year. I would pay Brian Flores that in a heartbeat.
And that'll be worth every penny you spent on it, too.
I think it would be, too. Not that, not that we're like, I don't want to come off that he's the only guy I'd be excited about, because he's not. There's other guys. I'd be excited about Kubiak. I'd be excited about Minter if he brought in a good OC. I would be excited about Robert Saleh. But
if Saleh does not go to Baltimore, do you think that he will be
a head coach
for the upcoming season?
I don't know. He's not getting a lot of buzz right now.
Which is
like he's not being asked to interview.
And I think that is also due to the situation with the Jets, which was not his fault.
It's so recent. Like, he was the head coach for the Jets last season. So I think it's a little bit like,
a little bit too early.
Brian Flores has spent the last 40 years kind of proving himself again.
Do you think
it's only been one season?
That's true. Do you think, like, after a couple of years, if he still continues to have that Niners defense success, that his name will pop up more and more?
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah.
Like by the 2028 year or something like that.
29,
Yeah,
some in that
2 years
range.
from now.
Yeah.
Maybe next season. Okay. Let's get into cut number 2. So happy that you guys are all hanging out with us. A hard no for Saleh and Kingsbury. I'm a hard no for Kingsbury, for sure. I agree, attendance squad. I could not agree more. What if we get Klint Kubiak as our head coach, McDaniels as our OC, request for Flores to have DC jobs? That's the thing, is like I don't think Flores is going to leave somewhere just to be another DC. That's my thoughts. I just don't see it. Okay, we're about to get my perfect off-season underway. 5 things I think the Baltimore Ravens need to do to have a perfect off-season. Okay? This is going to come out on Friday. And so stay tuned for that. I like that addition to it. Okay. Gage, you ready to roll? Let's do it. Coming at you right now. On today's show, I'm going to lay out my 5-step plan for what I believe is going to be the perfect offseason for the Baltimore Ravens. If they want to get back into playoff contention, into Super Bowl talks, I think the Ravens need to do these 5 things, and if they do, I think we're going to have a lot of fun in 2026. It is a huge offseason coming up. It's funny because Tuesday morning, I was kind of feeling like this whole staff was just going to be back, and it was going to be a boring offseason. Not many changes. And then the bombshell drops on Tuesday afternoon. And then all of a sudden, this offseason becomes massive. Okay? We'll keep bringing the heat all offseason long. Daily videos from here, start of the season. Then we'll ramp it up even a bit more. Make sure you subscribe. I promise you, you don't want to miss it. Step number 1. And this one is easy, right? You have to nail the head coaching hire. Okay? Like, this is such an important next few weeks for the Baltimore Ravens. And I know it sounds easy for me to say that, but like the grass isn't always greener. You made a statement when you fired John Harbaugh. You said, hey, look, 3 playoff wins in 7 years is not good enough. But we also got to look at the flip side of that coin because there's less room for improvement than for regression. Because there's a lot of teams across the National Football League that would trade their last 7 years for 3 playoff wins. Now, I get it. The standard is different in Baltimore because of the history, because of the talent on this roster. I think it was the right move. I'm just saying the grass isn't always greener. So if you mess up this head coach hire, 3 years from now, this franchise could look totally different. But if you nail it, it can mean a Super Bowl. 5 guys. Engaged. We're just going to go through these quickly so we can go on with everything else. Number 1, love me some Brian Flores. I think he is the can't-miss target. I think he would be unbelievable in Baltimore. Bring back that play-like-a-Raven mentality that is gone. Number 2, Robert Saleh. I think he got dealt a very bad hand in New York, gave him a 40-year-old Aaron Rodgers, and then they basically let Aaron Rodgers run the team, tears his Achilles. He sucked. Robert Saleh just got dealt a really bad hand in New York. I think he would be great in Baltimore. Look what he's doing in San Fran this year. Number 3, Jesse Minter, a guy we already know the Baltimore Ravens have requested to interview. And young, great defensive mind, has ties to the program, has ties to the Harbaughs, obviously, coaching for Jim, both in Michigan, win a national championship, and then in the Chargers these last couple of seasons. The leadership qualities, everything is there. I think that would be a really, really good move. Anthony Weaver, another guy that we know the Baltimore Ravens have requested to interview, as Tom Pelissero reported that on Wednesday. Klint Kubiak, offensive coordinator for the Seahawks. I would be over the moon if you somehow interviewed Klint Kubiak and you somehow, Klint Kubiak, they requested an interview, not Jesse Minter. Just want to get that clear. Klint Kubiak, if you were able to lock him down, I think that'd be a home run with what he's doing in Seattle. Very, very special. A couple of names worth mentioning. Matt Burke, defensive coordinator for the Houston Texans. Apparently a couple of guys online, their sources are saying that's a name that they've heard. Kliff Kingsbury, Diana Rossini said to keep an eye on him. I would absolutely hate that hire, okay? And then the third one on that list, Kevin Stefanski. Not saying there's any legs behind that, but I do believe that it is a name at least worth watching. Now, Ian Rappaport reported earlier this week that the Ravens are looking for a head coach that will reach and invigorate Lamar Jackson. So I don't know if that means offensive mind. I don't know if that just means a dominant personality. But they're looking for a guy that Lamar Jackson's going to gel with. That's one of the things on my head coach checklist. Okay, I need Lamar Jackson to. I need Lamar Jackson to stay a Baltimore Raven as long as possible. I'd love a head coach that preaches physicality and toughness, and I want him to be a run through the brick wall type. I want him to be a guy where everybody in this locker room would run through a brick wall for him, because I don't think John Harbaugh was that guy at the end of his team. Who's your number one Ravens head coach candidate? You let me know down below in the comment section. I just gave you 7 names to keep an eye out on for, okay? Let me know who is your number one, and we will get over to number 2 on the perfect off-season checklist, and that is you got to extend Lamar Jackson. This is a very, very important step in this offseason, and we know it's something that literally has to happen. Like, you've got to do something about that contract because his cap hits for the next 2 years are $75 million. So when the new league year starts in March, I guarantee you they're not going to roll into it with his cap hit being $75 million. They just won't. And it felt towards the end of the season, after those reports came out, that you'd have to choose between Lamar Jackson and John Harbaugh, and it feels like they made the correct choice for Lamar Jackson. So now you just got to lock them down. Make sure you don't lose both of them. Now, I think it's addition by subtraction with John Harbaugh. You got to make sure Lamar doesn't go in. And he addressed it. All the rumors about him a couple weeks ago. I never quit on my team before. Then he says contract talk will be after the season, not during the season, focusing on winning. Unfortunately, they didn't win that football game. It was not because of Lamar Jackson in the slightest, but I'm glad he mentioned contract talk and said that will be after the season. Hopefully they get on that soon. Number 3, I think it's time to trade Marlowe. I'm sorry if you love him. Frankly, I'm a little bit tired of him. I'm tired of his effort. I'm tired of him on social media. Like him going on social media, on Twitter, the day after the loss and saying, "What's up, guys? I'm back on the Bird app. Looks at you guys miss me. So happy to be back." Just zero feel, man. Especially because he was one of the reasons you lost that game. He can't tackle. He can't cover. He can't do anything except cash the massive checks that this team is paying. So if you can offload that contract in some way, shape, or form next season, I'd be all over that. His base, $15.25 million. His cap hit, $26.27 million. And you'd save a good chunk of money on the cap if you dealt him pre or post June 1st. $18.94 million. That's pre-June 1st. Okay? I know there are teams across the National Football League that are looking for cornerback help. There's not a ton of good cornerback free agents on the open market right now. Somebody, I believe, if they believe they're just a cornerback away, would take on that contract. And if you get a good defensive mind in here, like a Flores, maybe like a Minter, not having him, I don't think it matters that much. Should the Ravens trade Marlon Humphrey? Give me a yes or a no down below in the comment section. Weigh in with your answer. Tell me your thoughts. Very, very curious to see where you guys end up on this side of the argument. We got a couple of more things to talk about. Before that, I got to give you guys a little bit of word on our awesome sponsor of today's show, our great friends over at PrizePicks. And whether you are starting a new routine or making player picks for the first time, trying something new can be hard. But in life and on PrizePicks, it always feels good to be right. With high-pressure playoff matchups every weekend and elite hoops action almost every night, the action never stops. And PrizePicks lets you take control. PrizePicks now has early payouts. If your lineup gets off to a hot start, you might have the option to cash out those winnings before the game even finishes. With a new social feeds feature, you can share PrizePicks with your friends in a single click. Copy lineups you like or use them as inspiration for your own picks. You can even follow PrizePicks partners like us and tailor or fade our picks with just one click. Tonight's game in the college football playoff, I'm taking the less on Fernando Mendoza on 24.5 rushing yards. Last night, I took the more on Carson Beck, 239.5 passing yards. And then tonight, I'm taking the more on Dante Moore, 216.5 passing yards. Download the PrizePicks app today and use code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. Link to this promo is in the comments and description of today's video. Prize Picks, it's good to be right. All right, let's talk NFL draft. I think you got to go heavy trenches with this thing, okay? I'm excited that they've got a good pick in it. That's going to be fun. 14th overall pick. I love draft season around here. You guys know we here at Chat Sports get super, super into the NFL draft. With a pick at 14, you can really make some noise. You can really get yourself a good player. I hope Eric DeCosta does not trade down from it or trade back from it. I would not be surprised if he does, given how much he covets draft picks. But here are 5 first-round targets that may have a chance to fall down that low. David Bailey, edge rush out of Texas Tech. Absolutely love that guy. Francis Mauigoa, although he didn't commit to my Tennessee Volunteers coming out of high school, the offensive tackle out of Miami, really, really special. Maybe he'll be able to transfer into offensive guard. Reuben Bain Jr., edge rusher out of Miami as well. Absolute stud. He can have a little versatility, play on the edge and play on the interior. How about Vega Ione, offensive guard out of Penn State? He's most likely going to be the first interior offensive lineman off the board. And then Peter Woods, defensive tackle for Clemson. I'm not too in love with that guy, but I do believe he's worth mentioning because I think there's a shot that the Baltimore Ravens really, really like him. And then number 5, the final thing, the perfect offseason. Go get a big-time free agent. I'm not talking about a D-Hop, although I love that signing at the moment. Thought it was a lot of fun. I thought he was really, really good. I'm not talking about a Jair Alexander, although I like that signing at the moment as well. Look, other than Derrick Henry, it has been almost a decade since the Baltimore Ravens has signed what I would like to call a big free agent. I would like to call it like an ESPN notification-worthy free agent. Now, unfortunately, there aren't a ton of those guys in this free agent class, but there are some. George Pickens is one of them. Now, I don't know if you have the money to sign George Pickens. I don't even know if the Dallas Cowboys are going to let him off the hook. But if they do, it'll be interesting to see that and see what you do with Zay Flowers. Jalen Phillips, edge rusher. I was all about trading for him at the trade deadline. John Franklin Myers, defensive tackle with Denver. He's a stud. Quay Walker, linebacker with the Green Bay Packers. They did not pick up his 5th-year option back in May. And Levante Taylor, former Tennessee Volunteer, cornerback for the Saints. I don't know how big a free agent he would be, but for as young as he is, that's a position of need, especially if you trade away Marlon Humphrey. So those 5 guys, I'd be pretty excited about any of them. Alec Pierce, another wide receiver to keep a name on. What's the number one thing the Ravens need to do this offseason? What do you think? Let me know your answer down below in the comment section. And with that, we're going to get out of here. Appreciate you guys for hanging out with us. Make sure you guys got me followed on socials. Make sure you are subscribed to the channel as well. And we'll see you tomorrow. All righty. People asking about Trey Hendrickson. I will not be too jazzed up with Trey Hendrickson, if I'm being honest with you guys. Max Crosby's not a free agent. I would not mind trading for Max Crosby, though. That would be a lot of fun. I think him and the Raiders are coming out a little bit of a dissension. Daniel Miles, €5. Joey, do you have a P.O. box so I could send you a jersey of my football team from the UK? Also, need size you will need. Let's go. Daniel, if you are still here, first off, that is awesome. Gage is going to put my email down below. Okay? Make sure to send me an email. Okay? Sorry we didn't get to this. We're in the middle of the cut when you sent it. We got to it now, so I hope you're still here. Hope you're still watching. Joey@chatsports.com. Send me an email. I'll give you a bang. There he is. Okay, Daniel. Send me an email down here. I'll give you my size, P.O. box, and that's awesome. I would absolutely love that. That would be pretty sick. So email me, joey@chatsports.com. I'll hit you up with everything you need. Hell yeah, that'd be pretty dope. Sir Chi, all Tyler Loop had to do was make the kick. Yeah, you're not wrong. But honestly, let's talk about this from a broad perspective. If he makes that kick, does John Harbaugh get fired? What do you think, Gage?
That was the burning question I was thinking when I was coming home last night. I would say it depended on how the playoffs went. Like, if they lost in the first round and they did not look like they were they should have been in the playoffs, then he would have still been canned.
I kind of think so too. But what if they won that first game?
I think he would have stayed another year.
I kind of do too. I really do. Apparently, so the reason he got fired, this has all come out in the last day or so. Apparently, they wanted him to make a change at offensive coordinator of Todd Monken. The reason they wanted him to do that, apparently there's a little bit of dissension between Lamar Jackson and Todd Monken, and John Harbaugh was kind of the middleman. They also possibly wanted him to move on from Zach Wilson. John Harbaugh did not want to do either of those things. So they basically said, you know what? It's just time to all move on. If Tyler Luke makes that kick and the Ravens lose in the first round, I still think he's gone. But, let's be honest. Were the Baltimore Ravens going to win the Super Bowl this year, Gage? You can keep my email up there for Daniel, just so that way he can get it. I don't think the Baltimore Ravens were going to win a playoff game. Okay? I just don't think that. Yeah. I don't know. Yeah. No, I agree. Also, I think Tennessee just had another transfer portal player. It's Lee, the cornerback from Auburn. Say it again. Yes. Maybe we hit it in. Maybe we refilm and add that to it. We'll figure that out later. Let's get started with the mailbag, just in case we have to, because of course life cannot be easy. Great. Let's do that. Thank you guys so much for your questions. Yeah, filter in, pick the best ones. These whatchamacallits, they'll be quick. So literally just go just exactly how it is. It's scripted. Yeah. So, yeah, funny. Is Loop a hero or a villain? Feels like he might be a hero. Oh, yeah. Me too. I agree. I kind of feel for him as well. Say it again? I know, and there people are not being very nice to her, unfortunately. That's just how it goes, man. Unfortunate, but it's true. Okay, it is draft targets plus mailbag time. Okay, it's gonna be a good one. Very, very excited for the NFL draft. It's gonna be a ton of fun having the 14th overall pick. All right, Gage, you ready to roll? Let's do it. Okay, coming in right now. What's going on, everybody? Welcome into the Baltimore Ravens Rundown. My name is Joey Petersen. We got a good show for each and every one of you guys today. We're going to start off with Baltimore Ravens draft targets. Ravens picking at 14th overall this year. Some decent excitement with them being that high of a pick. Cannot wait to see who they take. Got to be edge or defensive tackle or offensive lineman. Decent bit of holes to fill. We'll see where they go. After that, we're going to go live Ravens Rundown mailbag. Your questions, my answers. All of them coming from our Wednesday live show. All the real ones of the flock who are in there gave us a great question. We'll get into those later. Let's start with the targets. These all come from Mel Kiper's newest big board. David Bailey, number one. Edge rusher out of Texas Tech University. Mel Kiper actually has him as number 6 on his big board. And I don't know if you watched that Texas Tech-Oregon game in the first round of the college football playoffs or the second round of the college football playoffs, but if you did, then you know the name David Bailey because he was absolutely unbelievable. Double-digit sacks at Texas Tech this last year. He's got a chance to come into the National Football League and be an impact player at a very, very important position in year one. If he fell down to 14 to the Baltimore Ravens, it would be very, very hard for me to pass up from the talent out of Lubbock. Number 2, Caden McDonald, defensive tackle out of Ohio State. Number 15 on the big board for Mel Kiper. He's been mocked from ESPN as well to go number 16 to the New York Jets. I would really like Caden McDonald. I think he's really talented. But I do have to admit, I feel a little bit wary about drafting defensive tackle in the first round because typically that's a position that if you get into the second, you can get in the third with some really good options left. And we've seen a lot of, highly taken defensive tackles over the last couple of years really not pan out. Feels like more than some other positions. So I would be cautious about Caden McDonald. How about Olave Vega Ione? Or Vega Ione. Interior offensive lineman out of Penn State, number 17 on the big board for Mel Kiper. He's mocked 28 to the Cleveland Browns, so maybe it's a little bit of a reach if you get him at 14. Regardless, we know you need help on the interior of the offensive line. I think the plan next year is to have Emory Jones be your left guard and then draft a right guard and then move with those two guys as the interiors. I think that's a great plan as well. Peter Woods, another defensive tackle out of Clemson. He's number 18 on the big board. Look, when it comes to Peter Woods in the NFL draft, I'm a little bit wary because as I preached last year when we talked a lot about Shamar Stewart, I am production over projection. And Peter Woods did not produce much this last season. Funny enough, he was mocked as number 14 the Baltimore Ravens in ESPN's mock draft. I don't know. I would be wary about it. He also plays a position, like I said, interior defensive lineman, I think is a really big coin flip when you get them that early in the draft. Ruben Bain Jr., though, that's a name I would like to see. Number 19 on Mel Kiper's big board, edge rusher out of Miami. Mock number 9, the Kansas City Chiefs. So I think there's a decent chance he could fall down to you. If you watch any playoff game for Miami this season, you have seen Ruben Bain. Him and Akeem Mesidor absolutely haunt opposing offensive linemen. He can flex inside. He can play outside. He can do anything you want him. He's fast. He's strong. I think my favorite thing about him is he's got an unbelievable motor. Does not quit. Would be really excited about the chance to add a prospect just like him. Are you excited that the Ravens had the 14th overall pick? If you are, make sure to hit that thumbs up button and like today's video, ladies and gentlemen. Gage, we can skip that one, and we can just go into the questions. Coming up right now, we got a ton of questions from all of the awesome Flock members, okay? This is my favorite part about Wednesday live shows. You guys get to ask me all the questions you want to know. And we got this one from Ladio Lumita. Do you think Monken is gone? Well, at the current recording of this video, it is Wednesday. It's going out on a Sunday. So he could be gone by now. If he's not, I don't imagine him staying because it came out, one of the reasons that the Ravens fired John Harbaugh is he refused to let go of Todd Monken. Apparently, Todd Monken and Lamar Jackson had a couple of disagreements, a little bit of dissension in that relationship. John Harbaugh was kind of the middle guy, and they wanted Monken gone because they wanted a guy that that Lamar Jackson gelled well with. That wasn't Monken. John Harbaugh didn't want to let him go. So I do not think he will be back. In fact, they wanted him fired in the first place. Attendance squad. Here's my draft order. First round, right guard. Second, edge rusher. Third, wide receiver. What are your thoughts? Love this question. I think it should be guard, edge rusher, defensive tackle in the first 3 rounds. Because you can still get a really good wide receiver in the 4th and 5th. Okay? But I think it's guard, edge rusher, defensive tackle in any order. I would prefer guard or edge rusher in the first round, but then defensive tackle, guard, edge rusher in the 2nd and 3rd. Really, you cannot go wrong. Those are your 3 massive, and I'm talking massive needs. Okay? So, I think that's what I would say. If there's a mailbag, short of hiring me, I'd endorse me. I'd go Spags, Flores, Saleh, if defense with Dable / Kingsbury. I would not mind Flores or Saleh. I'm not super interested in Steve Spagnuolo. Look, he's been a head coach before, so I don't think that would be horrible. But, he's 66. I think he's older than John Harbaugh is. I am not for, hiring a super old guy. Now, I'm not being ageist. I'm not give me anybody under 40, and that's it. I think that's ridiculous. But if you're above 63 in this coaching search, I'm not interested. I would love a guy who could be super relatable to players. And it might be mean to say I don't know if those guys can. And if you disagree, let me know down below. Something I know you don't disagree with. Life insurance is very, very important. So that's why we got to talk about our awesome friends over at Ethos. Because as you know, my wife Kennedy and I got married a year and a half ago. And I imagine we'll buy a house and start having kids sometime soon. If something were to happen to me, the last thing I want the people I love to worry about is being able to pay the bills. so I trust Ethos to keep them protected. After watching someone close to me go through loss, I saw how quickly grief can turn into financial stress. That experience changed how I think about protecting my family. Life insurance isn't about expecting the worst, but it's about making sure the people you love are supported no matter what. That's why I recommend life insurance through Ethos. You can get your free quote at ethos.com/NFL Daily. Ethos makes getting life insurance fast and easy. It's 100% online. You can get a quote in seconds, apply in minutes, and get same-day coverage. Application times may vary. There's no medical exam. You just answer a few simple health questions. As a March 2025 Business Insider named Ethos the #1 no medical exam instant life insurance provider. Protect your family with life insurance from Ethos now by going to ethos.com/NFL Daily. In as little as 10 minutes, you can get your free quote of $3 million in coverage. That's ethos.com/NFL Daily. Application times and rates may vary. We appreciate Ethos for sponsoring today's show. Mog says, why would a defensive-minded head coach be better for Lamar when Lamar already has wasted years trying to carry this team and coaches? A defensive head coach might trade eight. I don't think anybody's come in here and trade Lamar Jackson. Lamar Jackson, in fact, is the reason people want to have this job. Let's talk about the head coaching openings right now. You got the Arizona Cardinals. Kyler Murray sucks. You've got the Cleveland Browns. Shedeur Sanders sucks. You got the New York Giants. Jackson Dart is a pretty decently big unknown. Las Vegas Raiders. They don't know what they're doing at quarterback. This is like the only opening where you've got a future Hall of Famer at quarterback. So whoever comes in here, they're not going to trade Lamar Jackson. And I think defensive-minded head coach might be better for Lamar because they control the defense basically. They can get an offensive play caller in here and be like, hey, you're basically the head coach of that side of the football. So I think that'd be pretty beneficial. Lincoln 81421. Who do you think the Ravens should trade for this offseason? Great question. I think Max Crosby is a guy I would be extremely interested in. I think he is probably my number 1, 2, and 3. There seems to be a little dissension between him and the Las Vegas Raiders for the first time in a while. Ever, in fact. He's always said, hey, look, I'm a Raider for life, ladies and gents. But he might not be. Okay? Sensing a little bit of, non-excitement between those two parties. Regardless, Max Crosby, that's it. Who's going to be franchise tagged? I don't know. Probably not Linderbaum, if that's what you're asking. Because I believe the franchise tag for offensive linemen is just offensive lineman blanketed. So, it's averaging also offensive tackles who get paid a lot more than centers do. So that number is very, very high. I don't know if anybody will, Bonfetta. I really don't. Do you think you're going to trade up to get best players available? No. If anything, I can see this team trading down. In fact, I would not be surprised if this team traded down. I would be shocked if this team traded up. Funny enough. But thanks for the question. Let's get to John's question, Gage, if you could pick it up, if you don't mind. I do like this, though. Ladio says, thoughts on current OC Todd Monken. Look, I love them, but after everything that came out about him and Lamar Jackson not really gelling, I don't think he'll be back. I don't think he should be back. You think the Ravens need any receivers? From John. Look, I do. I think so. I think they got to figure out what they want to do with Zay Flowers. I don't think he's a wide receiver 1. I think he would be a hell of a wide receiver 2. But, do you see Zay Flowers, and do you think he's like a top 20 wide receiver in football? I don't think so. That might sound harsh, but I don't think he is. Jarmo, what do you think about signing Tariq Woolen at free agency and trading Marlon to free up cap? I would like both of those. Now, Tariq Woolen wouldn't, fire me up to sign a free agency. I would be happy with it. And then trading Marlon to free up some cap. Yeah, I'm all for it. I mean, no ifs, ands, or buts about it. On Friday, I put on my perfect offseason. That was number 3 on my perfect offseason, was moving on from Marlon Humphrey. This will be our last question of the day. The Grand Mexican Devil. Interesting. The Grand Mexican Devil. Oh, that's good. Can you get the guy running the Seahawks today to come on and talk about Klint Kubiak? It seems Seahawks fans don't care if he leaves. I don't know if that's necessarily true. Don't trust what family says, okay? But yeah, that's a good look. If it gets serious, I will have him on. That's a great suggestion. I love that. Thanks for being an executive producer. We're going to get out of here. Make sure you guys follow me on social media. Make sure you guys subscribe to the channel as well. And we'll see you next time. All right, Gage, that is our live show. We've got a little bit more stuff to get to on today's plate for Gage and myself, so we're going to get out of here. Appreciate you guys for watching. 4 more likes to get to 100. Somebody needs to help me do that. Also, make sure to email me, Daniel, I got you. Boom. I'll email you later today. All right, that's going to do it. See you next time. Y'all have a great day. For producer Gage, my name is Joey Petersen.